And we're back with another edition of Two Coaches, One Grizz. We got a packed show today. We're going to be talking some NFL playoffs, some Black Monday firings, a little bit of MMA and college basketball. But we have to start with last night's college football national champion. Georgia takes down Alabama. They finally get off the hump. Gentlemen, talk to me. Let's start this.
What a great game. What a great game. I mean, I think, again, defensively early was the key and was the battle. And as we spoke earlier last week about this game, that points come in bunches. It's incredible how all of a sudden in the second half, fourth quarter, boom, 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 28, 30 points got scored. Alabama just could not find its footing. Alabama just could not really get any kind of rhythm.
I think they didn't have the big playability that they have, from their star receivers.
Williams going down on that long pass really hurt them. It shows how much Mechie meant to them, right? Really was a nice compliment in that offense. I don't think they used the backs enough, man. I think they could have thrown to the running backs a little bit more, and I didn't see them doing that.
This is just my perception, obviously, watching the game live. You see them, right? They had B-Rob, okay, who was huge for them in the SEC championship game and as well as the semifinals. I think they panicked after Jameson Williams went down. They started motioning him out of the backfield, tried to get a lot of screens going, right? Went empty sets. I think they should have hammered the run a little bit more to help out those young receivers after Jameson Williams goes down. But like the most surprising stat for me, Coach, going off of what you said with the backs, was in the semifinal game against Cincinnati, Alabama rushes for 301 yards against the Bearcats. National championship game, they have 30 carries, okay, or 32 carries for a combined total of 30 yards. Sorry, 28 carries for 30 yards total. Look, the difference in that dynamic. Right,
but again, to me that's a little bit of apple and oranges because the Georgia defense is just at a different level.
100%.
That defensive line is at a different level, so it was different. Okay,
100%.
If you go back to the first game that they played in the SEC championship game, right, they didn't run the ball that much either. They hurt Georgia throwing the football, And going back to what you said as far as a running back is concerned, I think he's better. He was better served out of play action. And maybe leaking him towards the middle, maybe swinging him out from back there instead of, like you said, motioning him and declaring him.
Correct.
If he comes out late, those guys have dropped back. They're in man-to-man. Maybe someone loses him. Boom. And that was my perspective. There was one throw in particular that he ended up getting sacked or he threw it away on the ground, I think. And the running back was wide open.
Right.
And there were like 15 guys deep. I mean, it was all deep. They were all 15 yards deep.
Right, and that was the thing. Like you look at, Brian Robinson's a bigger back, okay? He's a between the tackles running back. You split him out wide, you're nullifying what his skill set is essentially a little bit there. On top of the fact that Georgia's got some All-American linebackers that can cover that dude in space as well.
Did you see that? Did you see how they hawked Bryce Young down?
Oh yeah.
When he broke contain, it looked like he was going to score, and that he couldn't. The linebacker said, no, you're not going anywhere. Come here.
41 came
Boom.
Downhill.
I mean, that kind of speed is unheard of. I mean, to me, it's crazy. It's crazy that they have that guy. And that kid is a decent athlete. Bryce Young is a nice little athlete.
Correct. He is. And a little, has to be said that he is a redshirt freshman. He's going to come back bigger, stronger, with more experience. They're going to be back on this stage. I think looking at Georgia and Alabama, they are built to beat each other. And if you look at it, I think that this is going to be, the perennial matchup.
If you're not building your program to beat Alabama, you're not winning the Natty.
Correct.
As long as Nick Saban is there, if your team is not built to beat Alabama, you're not winning one. Because those guys are going to be in it every year. I just saw something on my screen here. Out of the last, he's been there for 15 years. He has been involved in 14 of the 15 national championships. He either won it or lost it, which to me is insane.
For sure. And again, and you look at it in the college football era, right? The playoff era that we have now. He's one lost. Like he's 3-3 right now. And every single time you see that it is against, an Ohio State, a Clemson, the teams that are built
cream of the crop.
Correct. Teams that are built to go against that elite status of athlete and team that Nick Saban has become known for.
And one more side note to that. If you look at it, anytime they've lost, it's because the quarterback for the opposing team has had a huge game.
Has gone off, correct.
Second half, whatever the case is, they've had a huge game, and that's how they've won the game. They haven't been pounded into the ground by anybody. It's been because the quarterback ran, then threw, ran, and quarterback took over.
And speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about Georgia's quarterback, Stetson Bennett, for a second here. It shows you if this kid is a 4 or 5-star recruit, we're not having a conversation about, is he...
Do you know where he started in the depth chart at the beginning of the season? He was a third-string quarterback. He was the third-string quarterback when the season started.
Talk about overcoming adversity. When we talk about this transfer portal situation and players, because they don't want to face adversity and battle for their spot, this kid is the epitome of that. He got to Georgia as a walk-on, didn't get offered a scholarship, left because they were bringing in all sorts of talent at the position. Went to a JUCO, balled out there, was committed to going to Louisiana. Then Georgia comes and says, hey, we're going to offer you a scholarship. It's going to be for the scout team, but it's a scholarship. Had to think about it. Gets there. There's 5 dudes on the depth chart, all 5 stars. We're talking about Justin Fields, among others who ended up transferring later on.
You got to understand that JT Daniels
comes in from USC.
I mean, again, we're talking the kid stuck it out, beat everybody out, and now is a national champion.
And any time in the season while he was on the field that the game got a little bit close, you hear the Twitter sphere goes off. Well, when are we going to see JT Daniels? Why is this guy in? This, that, the other. And the same thing happened last night after that bizarre fumble situation that happened, which could have given Alabama the game. Instead, Georgia nuts up on defense, gets a stop, right? I think it only results in a field goal, okay? And then this dude just comes back and throws for about 90 yards and 2 tutties in the fourth quarter to seal it up for the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, listen, if that's not just guts, glory, just working through your adversity, overcoming what's happening, I don't know what is. I mean, he's got storybook, fairy tale, movie written all over it.
And he'll be back next year.
And he's going to be back next year. And guess what? He's going to be going through the same exact thing again because they're bringing in dudes. You got JT Daniels there who's going to compete again. So let's see what happens. Yes, is he the incumbent starter? But by no means is his position guaranteed on the field.
Grizz. And I think that's what you want.
Grizz.
Well, he has to play up to the position again next year, but they're going to end up being in the SEC East champion. Alabama's favorite to win the title already with the bookies. So, I mean, probably going to have the same dance, man. I mean,
sir, we don't say bookies, sir. We say Vegas.
Vegas bookies.
The wise guys.
Bookie is such a dirty word. We say Vegas, sir.
Sharks.
They're the early favorites in Vegas.
They definitely take my book and shut up. Guys. Anyway, the defense that Georgia has is stifling. That first game, they must have came out and said, all right, this is definitely not going to happen. Even though Alabama's up 9-6 going into the halftime, it's definitely the game Georgia wants. Field goals, tight, just enough. Just keep it close enough so that, like Gil said, at any point you're going to have those big plays that make it happen. And then it just, you get that momentum. And it's hard to beat another team twice, especially within a month. And again, especially the way that happened.
And again, a team that you play every year, that you know each other. It's a conference game. I mean, again, we talked about that here.
You've been scheming
the knowledge, knowledge that you have. You play that team every year.
You have a coach that, came from Saban's lineage, and he's trying to get his first. And was it this year that Jimbo was the first one to do it, right?
First guy.
So the door's been open because now Kirby did it. So there's no
Yeah, I think
There's
he's 27-2 or something like that. I don't even know.
That's
Something
over with
disgusting.
now. That's over with now. Now,
Curry-
as an assistant, you can come in and feel, I got a shot. It's been done.
Kirby's been knocking on the door for the past 4 or 5 years.
Of course. And you knew it was about to happen.
In the previous 4 matchups in playoffs, right, whether it's the SEC championship game or the national championship, he's been up by 10 points or more against Alabama, and Alabama comes back to steal it from their grasps, right? So Kirby, he's been there. It's always
He was able to reverse the tables on this when he came from behind and won.
like one of our buddies.
It was always but from him.
Like one of our poker buddies says, he was due.
He was due. And you know what? And for those of you that might go back a little bit, it was great to see Vince Dooley, the old Georgia Bulldog head coach, in the stands there watching the game.
41 years.
It was incredible. And Kirby is a Georgia Bulldog alumni. So again, there was a lot of emotion and different feelings for that game for those fans and for that team.
I don't have to tell Georgia fans anymore the stat that their last title came 13 days before this guy, the Grizz, was born. That's how long it was ago. But now they just won.
It was
So
Herschel Walker, right?
Freshman
Herschel Walker. It's crazy. But I think we can all agree here that this is going to be a matchup that's going to dictate the college football landscape for
a few more years at least, just like Clemson and Alabama did. Georgia's been there for the last few years.
I think it's going to be interesting because I don't see Ohio State going anywhere. I think Ohio State is going to be another solid program next year.
We're going to see now with how this portal goes. That's the big underlying what if. Right. We'll see what happens, but I think the teams like the Cincinnati and other teams, they're still going to make it, and especially in the next couple of years, if we get a 12-team playoff, then obviously
Cincinnati will make it if they keep winning. Yeah. Then they may. We may.
Well, they're going to be in a big. They're going to be in the Big 12, right?
We may see. I'm not sure if Cincinnati's going to the Big 12.
I think
they're getting absorbed into the Big 12. I think it's like 2024 or something like that.
Yeah, so you're going to be part of a Power 5
test there.
Now
that's going to be a big test for them.
They will.
But again, any G5 team that makes it has to be something like we've seen in college basketball, where we've seen some of the mid-majors win for a long period of time.
Once again, if you expand to 8 or 12 teams, you're going to have at least one make it. That's at least.
Right, but I don't want to see one make it just for the sake of making it.
No, I don't want to see that.
I want to see them get exactly. I want to see them get there and get to the Final Four, the Final Two.
Once you expand to 8 or 12 and you have every year having a team involved, it'll eventually happen.
Again, I think that they'll only be there if they're consistent winners.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they'll be able to stay there if they just the first year,
just imagine my
like a
thing
Coastal
would be,
Carolina. Coastal Carolina last year was undefeated, had a great season, et cetera, et cetera.
My thing would be imagine like that good 7 or 8 years that Boise State was really good. Every year they were really good. If you would have had a playoff that they were involved in every year,
they would have had a shot.
I could see them running off one year where they make a couple wins against top teams. But it's not like NCAA basketball, you can have a Gonzaga make the tournament every year and learn from that mistake over and over and over because they get an opportunity. That's the other thing. Once you have enough teams,
but they're winning.
Correct,
real good, and that's what I'm saying.
But were they real good at the very beginning? They would have those upsets with players that they didn't. What I'm saying is, if you eventually have every year a Cincinnati make it, they're being built, like you said, to beat Alabama. They're going to start building. These teams are saying, hey, we need to get these players to beat this team that just beat us. So I see it opening up, but at the same time, Alabama will always be there. That's for sure.
As we go on into February and things like that, we'll start discussing a little bit of the nuances of the recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
And we'll take a look at the transfer portal to see what teams are stacking up.
Yep, that's definitely a great point.
I was a bit shocked today, by the way. I was finishing up some numbers and things. Clemson won 10 games,
and barely a whisper.
Nobody knows about
10-3.
So I mean, to me, that was like wow.
Barely a whisper.
They were so bad.
It's good
in quotation, air quotes. They were so bad. Okay. And they still won 10 games.
They lost 3, and most of their wins came in a struggling manner.
Right.
So
low scoring defense.
They can't lose more than one. If you lose more than one, you're a failure.
No, definitely. So. In this landscape, you can't lose more than one.
Of course.
Definitely, it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. Obviously, like the Grizz said, okay, they're Alabama already coming out to be favored to win the national championship next year. The too early call here for that, but I think early on, right after the game, they were co-favorites. I think Alabama since then has pulled ahead, but definitely interesting to see what's going to happen here with the transfer portal. You know that these teams are going to be stocking up. It's no more we got to recruit and reload. It's just pull the best athletes from around the country who want to play right now. So it's going to be interesting to look at as we go on here, as Coach said, into February and in the offseason and watching these competitions in spring ball. So with that being said, college football season's over.
And I'm already excited for next year.
Now we pivot to the NFL playoffs, and that'll be coming up now in a second. And we're back with some NFL talk. We're going to jump right in with the NFL playoff picture this weekend. We got wild card weekend coming up, starting the games off on Saturday with the Raiders and the Bengals at 4:30, and at 8:15 we got New England and Buffalo. All right, let's check these games out here. Coach, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm a homer for the Raiders because, of course, that is my team, and I gotta push for them to win, whether I think they can or
whether
not.
Whether you think they can or not.
I gotta push for them to win. First of all, I would like to congratulate their head football coach. I think that guy did an amazing job of taking over for Gruden and being able to right the ship to where they are right now. As bad as the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers did, Coach Staley, and his decisions were
terrible.
Okay, as bad as those decisions were, the coach for the Raiders kept them in the game, did everything he had to do to win the game and get them to their 9-7 record, which to me is a miracle in and of itself.
With all the adversity that they faced throughout the season,
everything they've done,
100%,
10-7.
You know, with everything they've done, it's incredible that they're even in the playoffs.
4-game winning streak to end the season is amazing, and that's the type of team you want to, take the hot team against now an inexperienced, with very good team, but still first time in the hot seat, and it's going to be Derek Carr's first game, right? Because he was hurt the other time they made the playoffs.
Correct.
So he's going to be.
He had a broken arm,
ready to go. That game, that game last night or on Sunday night was absolutely insane.
Oh,
for them to make it into the playoffs
just
on that, I mean, it was off the rails. And then you hear the coach talking about it in the post game, talking about how they thought about the tie to lock up the playoffs.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, let's sit down for 1 second and think things out. First of all, you're in a position where if you have to punt the ball, you're worried about a bad snap.
Right.
They're never punting the ball.
So again, you're either looking to run out the clock,
of course,
and just sit there. You know that if you tie, you go in.
What I didn't
so why
understand,
take any chances?
Yeah, they were kneeling the ball. The Chargers weren't calling any timeouts. It was going to end in the tie. The only way they could get in. And they decide timeout because the Raiders were still trying to get the first down and get into field goal position,
right,
but they were just doing it organically. We'll let the time run out, hand the ball off, and then by that timeout, they decided, hey, let's get this. And once they were in the position, you kick a field goal to win it, and it was, oh man, I was frustrated, man. I'm not even a fan of this team.
And there were numerous mistakes by Staley. You know, I mean,
fourth down from
again, going from your own 20 on fourth down. This whole situation with analytics, I do believe that, yes, there is a place for them in the game.
Of course.
But there is a place for common sense as well.
Yep. And you don't do that in the second quarter of a hotly contested game where your defense has actually been playing very well. You know, like, trust your team. That shows total, like, and it doesn't matter that you hold them to a field goal, that your defense saved you. But guess what? What was the end score?
You lost by that field goal.
That's it.
That's it. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the second game on Saturday. We got the New England Patriots against the Buffalo Bills. They'll be seeing each other for the third time this year. Okay.
1-1.
1-1. Okay. Who do you think has the advantage here? My end, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. They got a more seasoned quarterback. Okay. Listen, Mac Jones is a Southern boy. They're gonna be in the elements this game. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to go with the dude who's been there, who's played in that weather on a consistent basis.
I mean, the elements are not going to be overwhelming, but I do think that, again, if you take a look at the Dolphin game on Sunday, we talked about that as well, and we said that the Dolphins should win the game or be in a really close game.
Correct.
Et cetera, et cetera. They came out, ended up blowing up the doors out of the Patriots. He cannot be the guy the game falls on. Mm-hmm. If they're not running the ball successfully, if they're not able to dink and dunk and get the first downs, they have no chance.
The weather's not going to be as bad as it was the first time they played there, where he only attempted 3 passes. He'll probably attempt more, but they have to have that kind of game plan where they run the ball a majority of the time.
But with the weather being what it is, and I'm looking at it right now, winds are going to be under 5 miles an hour. Then it's going to be 4 degrees.
He'll be able to throw the ball.
There won't be any rain.
But a balmy 4 degrees.
But the guy on the other side is going to be able to throw the ball.
That guy's going to be able to throw.
And that's what hurt Buffalo the first time.
Yes. That
he couldn't really, 18, 20 mile an hour gusts, he couldn't throw.
I don't see any. Yeah, the Bills should win handily here, actually, in my opinion. We'll see if it's just, once again, it comes down to rookie quarterback. It's not easy. It's not supposed to happen. You get your lumps. The fact that he got this team, he's yet again another, give kudos to Bill. He does it again. You got to give him his props. But I just, the last 3 out of 4 games, because we don't count the Jags for now. We don't,
Tennessee didn't count them.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I have no problem saying the Bills should win handily here.
Interesting, very interesting. All right, we're going to jump to the Sunday games. Okay, so it starts off at 1 o'clock with Philly against Tampa Bay. Okay, we got the San Francisco 49ers against the Dallas Cowboys, which I think is going to be the game of the weekend. And then we finish off the Sunday games with Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Okay, Philly on a tear down the stretch of the season. Okay, to get them in. They gave up, they traded away their tight end during the year. They gave up a bunch of their players, let go a bunch of their players. They had to deal with injuries, and they came back. They ran the ball. Okay, they created an offense which helped out their quarterback, their young quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Okay, one of the best running quarterbacks in the league this year. Okay, and I think it was 3 or 4 game winning streak to get them into the playoffs this year. They're hot. Talking, Grizz always says, which team's going to be hot down the stretch when we get into the playoffs? Philly's one of those teams. Right. If it's anybody who can steal a game here in wild card weekend, it's definitely the Eagles against Tampa Bay. But again, of course, we can never count out the GOAT.
My biggest problem with this football game is that everything that's the Phillies' strength on offense is Tampa Bay's strength on defense. They're not a good passing team.
Correct.
Which is where you can beat Tampa at. Yep. They want to run the ball. Tampa is top 2 or 3 in the NFL against the run. They've been top 2 or 3 the last 2 years against the run. So, again, it puts you in a position where they don't give up points. They're going to force them to really throw the football.
Well, and I think that's where the interesting matchup comes into play. We're going to see if Jalen Hurts can carry a team here, right? Because if they're going to stuff up the run, right? If Tampa Bay's strength on defense is stopping the run, let's see what Jalen Hurts can really do.
They're towards a really. I mean, again, and I'm looking at my numbers that I've put together. They're low. They're maybe 30th in the league, 29th in passing.
Yeah,
you get me. So I mean, that's my problem. My problem is that
I cannot say anything else because Gil said everything I was going to say. Because yes, you're right, Frankie. I usually say hot team. That's what I feel about the Raiders. 4-game winning streak, hot team. But they're playing the Bengals with the rookie. This is the Eagles with a really bad matchup. And it was fun. It was nice to get you in. You know, they were supposed to be like really bad this year. I think not even like 4 or 5 wins.
Great job, coach.
Great job.
Coach did a great job.
Hey, we got better. We like what we're doing with the running game.
We've set the foundation.
Yeah.
We set the
now,
foundation.
if you think they're gonna beat the world defending champs with the GOAT, if the GOAT's gonna go out like this, bro, I don't know, man. Once again, I think that's
I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying if there's a team that can steal one.
No, it's not them.
No, I disagree. There's two other teams down that we'll get to now.
But see, I don't see.
I thought they were gonna match up. I thought they were gonna be the third seed and match up with the Niners. That would have been bad. I don't like that matchup at all. And had it been the Cardinals, maybe. But then Cardinals have been there iffy. But the Eagles, to me, I'm sorry, I don't think they match up at all with them.
But listen to what
give you that one.
Listen to what I'm saying here.
No.
It's every other matchup here. You can see it going either way. I'm talking about them stealing a game.
Correct.
Right? In a bad matchup, it's going to be Philly. Right? Every other, come on.
Stealing a game means you to have a good matchup. That means you, as a team that's the underdog, match up well with the favorite team.
Right. The way you steal a game. My contention is this, Coach. The way you steal a game is if their strength is their passing game and your strength is your pass defense, great, because you match up really well. Yeah. They don't stop the run, but you run the ball well. Yeah. So now all of a sudden, you can play keep away. I can run the ball down your throat. You don't stop the run, and I can hurt you stopping your pass.
They got one of the best offensive lines in football.
They do.
Again, they can still be very successful on the ground. And again, this game will define whether we can say Jalen Hurts is the future
number one
or
run. It's
he's
the
not
number
get
one
it done.
running defense, running offense in the NFL versus the number 3 rushing defense.
See, that's the thing.
So again, to me, that's a very even matchup. See, whereas then you're looking at Tampa's offensive passing. Tampa's the top team in passing yards per game. Top team. And they're going to be playing about the 7th or 8th, 9th. So again, there's a little bit more disparity. See, that's what I'm talking about. To me,
I hear what you're saying.
That's where I see, it'll be a good game, but I don't think Philly can steal one here.
What I'm saying is,
I think they could hold it in the first half and then they get blown out.
What I'm saying is, when you look at the other matchups, they're more even, right? When you look at obviously Tampa Bay against Philly, you're saying, okay, obviously Tampa Bay is favored here, but if Philly comes out, punches them in the mouth, puts them on their heels.
Of course. Anybody who does that has a chance to win.
When we look at the other games here, you're going to see, obviously, San Francisco and Dallas, they're a very, very close matchup. I think Dallas is only favored by, less than 3 points there?
I'm saying I think the Steelers have a better shot to beat the Chiefs.
Really?
Of course. Definitely. Because the Steelers
I can't agree with that, Grizz.
And trust me, I told you Chiefs are my pick to go to the Super Bowl, but the Steelers just have things that
you're
Eagles
saying that Pittsburgh has a better chance of beating KC than Philly has a better chance of beating Tampa Bay?
But once again, that doesn't mean the Steelers are going to win. You got to
I understand that, but I'm saying I can't agree with that.
Well,
I'm saying the Steelers can give them a shot.
The thing with the Pittsburgh pick is there's also emotion tied into that game. Big Ben's playing on his last.
Right.
Teams play a little different for a guy like that, and they still have weapons. It's not like they're like, they win games. They're a tough team, bro. They have a great coach, a guy that's never had a losing season in the start of his career.
If Ben can find it in him to hit these guys that are wide open, that he keeps missing, okay. If he can find it in him,
I don't think the old noodle
this game being, 20, 24 to 13 or 24 to 17, where it's close, and then they get that last touchdown. It feels like a double-digit win, but it's close the whole time. I'm saying I think the Eagles game is 10-10 maybe at the half, and then it's 45-10 at the end of the game.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. But both teams are going to lose. I mean, I don't want to even discuss what the 7 seed is going to do to the 2 seed because I think both are going to win. Just saying.
I hear you.
The Eagles have the worst matchup out of the 6 playoff
Kansas City is
games.
towards the bottom half against the pass. They're bottom third against the pass.
They're going against old noodle arm, though.
Correct, yeah. Again, like I said, but that's the only way the noodle arm has a shot because they don't run the ball very well.
No, they don't.
I mean, so again, that to me.
Who doesn't run the ball very well? The Steelers?
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not a very good running team.
They pound it.
I like Harris.
They try to pound it.
Harris is a good back. I mean, I've liked them all year.
Again, they're 30th in rushing.
They are. But I'm
so again, they're not.
That's what I'm saying. They try to pound
it. Correct. So.
let's talk about this. What I think is the marquee matchup of the weekend is
Cowboys
San Francisco
match, yes.
at the Cowboys. Right? Cowboys are only favored last I checked by less than 3 points here. This couldn't have been a worse matchup for the Dallas Cowboys. Again, another team that's come on strong late in the season. San Francisco is extremely physical. They got this hybrid receiver running back, Deebo Samuel.
This team is the ultimate on fire team going into the playoffs right now. And now we're meeting the team that has the most ghosts in their closet team. And that's a big deal because the Cowboys always find a way to lose these games.
And this is a game where San Francisco can steal.
Yes.
The line's been moving in their direction.
Yes.
We're talking top 4 defense against the pass, top 5, top 6 defense against the run. So again, there's a great matchup there. The Cowboy defense versus that San Francisco offense.
Right.
And as you guys just alluded to, they run the ball. Mm-hmm. They're top 5 in rushing. Yep. So now they can play keep away. If they run the ball well, they mix it up, boom. Now all of a sudden Dallas, is caught in that coming from behind situation where they make mistakes.
Right.
That Dallas offense has shown that it makes and it's prone to mistakes. And another thing that you have to remember is that Dallas defense is very turnover oriented.
Correct.
And
Correct.
turnovers are the one gambling aspect of football that has the most variance. You can't count on it. You can hang your hat on a good defense. You can't hang your hat on, there's going to be 6 fumbles.
Right.
And how did the Niners finish talking about another great game that happened this week to get the Niners in the playoffs against the Rams? Yeah, they finished it off, turning the ball over. And that's the team, I'm telling you.
They were down 17-0.
Oh, man.
Our boy McVay was in the end zone celebrating.
First time he's lost a game. First time he's lost a game.
He was in the end zone celebrating with his guys, 17-0.
First time in his coaching career.
What are you doing?
And that's an interesting step. Yeah. First time in his coaching career that he loses when he has a first.
When the hell has an NFL coach ever ran into the end zone to celebrate a 17-0 lead in the first half?
That's what happens when you got a 34-year-old head coach in the NFL.
That's ridiculous at any level. It's the first half.
That's a bad juju.
Anything happens.
Yep.
He Andy'd himself. Shout out.
I mean, at the end of the day, have we not learned that 17-0 in the NFL these days is nothing? It's like, people forget. It gets daunting sometimes. You think 17, 20, it really is a couple scores. It's daunting when it's the fourth quarter with 8 minutes to go, but it's the first half. We got time. And they were, we got to give Shanahan and the team credit. Poised.
Stuck to their guns.
Jimmy G,
kept running the football.
Jimmy G, man.
Dink and dunk with a broken thumb or whatever digit it is broken.
And what Frankie said, that guy Deebo, man. Woo! That's a man-child.
He is a man-child.
Throwing touchdowns.
Could you imagine, as a former DB, could you imagine you're in the open field with this dude and he's coming downhill on you? You want no piece of that.
He's special.
You want no piece of that absolute beast.
And this year is the first year that he's really stayed healthy.
Yes, correct.
And he's really shown off how well he can do. Because he's had flashes the last few years, but he's been injured, hurt, so he's not been able to really explode on the scene.
And going back to what you were saying about the offense or the Dallas defense, right? They're very turnover oriented. I also, maybe this is not the right way to describe them, but my feeling is that they're a pretty finesse defense as well, right? Where when you have a team like San Francisco who's going to come out and try to pound them and try to punch them in the mouth, it's going to be interesting to see how they react to that, especially when you have Michael Parsons and he's playing so many different roles and they put him in so many different spots on the field. Is this the worst kind of complexion of a game for them defensively, right? Something where, listen, San Francisco might run the ball 35 times, and put them in a position where, oh man, we gotta nut up here.
Dallas is 18th against the run, so they're middle of the road.
Right, exactly.
They're not a dominant defensive team against the run.
And you start gassing them out there, it might start breaking open for them.
We got to realize this team was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They're not,
And when you keep Dak on the sideline, anytime you keep good players,
very defensive.
Anytime you keep good players on the sideline, especially quarterbacks, they're streaky. They can't feel the game.
There's no rhythm.
There's no rhythm. Exactly. They can't feel themselves in the rhythm. The
Especially
offense isn't
Dak, who
clicking.
is an ultimate rhythm guy.
Nothing demoralizes a team than not having the chance to be on the field. You have a game where you have 35 to 40 minutes worth of time of possession. I mean, that's 20. Come on. And Dallas does have a high octane offense.
And that means your touches are limited.
Exactly.
All right, so let's look at this Monday night game, and I feel like this is pretty interesting to me because, okay, cool, they have the most time to prepare for this wild card matchup, but I feel like on the back end, it's like the worst situation for them to be in, right? Because potentially, whichever team wins here, right, they have less time to prepare for the Packers, who are on their bye, right? So that means the Packers have been breaking down film on both of these.
Well, remember,
it's
not
teams.
necessarily the Packers that they play.
It may not, but here's my thing. Okay, Tampa Bay has a number 2 seed, right?
Correct.
Assuming that they win.
Right.
Okay, the next 2 seeds under that, okay, assuming that the Cowboys beat the 49ers, it would be LA or Arizona that has to face Packers. So they potentially could be in a position where second round of the playoffs, they're on a short week having to play the Packers, who are on, who had a first round bye, they're super fresh, and they're on a short week. Right?
You know what I say to that? Rams win your last game and you would have been the 2 seed.
Correct. Correct.
Cardinals don't choke the way.
And let me tell you,
it's just some teams are going to have that happen.
To me, this is the ultimate steal game. Yeah. To me, Arizona has a shot to steal a game.
Exactly.
The Rams have beat them like 5 out of the last 6 times.
Well, they beat them. Cardinals won in LA this year.
I really believe that this is the one game that can be a steal.
It can go either way, right?
Because it's a toss-up to me. To me, it's a pick-em game.
Yeah, both teams I don't think are playing up to their standards, their level.
Arizona's a great away team. Arizona's better away this year than they are at home.
They only lost 1 game all year on the road. And at the end of the day, it's Matt Stafford for the Rams, and he has never proven anything. Well,
that was my next point, and great job bringing that up. It's going to be on his shoulders. Absolutely. Does he have the ability to do it? Yes. That's why they brought him over. That's why they mortgaged their future to grab him, because they want to win right now.
He's an upgrade. He's an upgrade to Goff, I think.
However, he's never won a playoff game.
Nope.
And he has been, talking about streaky, we're bringing up that term again, he has been extremely streaky throughout this year. And they've won a couple games in spite of his missteps throughout the season. So if LA wants to get to the promised land, what they expect to be, what they've mortgaged, again, and I've said it before in weeks past, I don't think they have a first round draft pick until my son graduates high school, and he's 2 right now, or not even 2.
And let me say this now as well, which going into the playoffs, we'll see how they play. Their defense has not played well all year. The Rams' defense is pedestrian.
They were supposed to be top 3. Top of the line, scary.
Their bottom half in points allowed,
Nothing.
and their bottom half in yards per point, which is an efficiency metrics.
This game should be in the 30s.
To be honest with you, I mean, they are not a team that they should be a team, and we've talked about them here ad nauseum.
Right.
Okay, they should be a team that you're going into the playoffs going, oh man,
don't want to face them.
What a great,
And that's crazy because on paper, you look at the way that their defense is built. It's built for a Super Bowl run. It's built for the playoffs, right? They have corners who are phenomenal at man coverage. They have up front, they have all-world pass rushers, right? Because in the playoffs, what do you need? You need to get to the quarterback. You need to keep him off rhythm. You need to keep him off balance, right? Because that's what builds success in the playoffs. It just feels like they haven't been able to put it together. Now, some of that is COVID, injury, right? They've been piecemealing it together. They brought over Von Miller. Has he really gotten going yet? We don't know. He's a situational pass rusher at this point.
Can he get going again?
Right. That's my thing.
That's the question.
On paper, right?
Can he get going again?
And that's what I'm saying, Coach. On paper, they look phenomenal, right? But in reality, it hasn't come together yet. So again,
their best defensive stat is versus the pass, and they're 14th against the pass.
Right. Right,
so
exactly.
Again, to me, going into the playoffs, when your defense is that questionable and your offense is not clicking on all cylinders, you're open for all kinds of problems.
And then their offense gets a little bit of a boost with Akers coming back, but let's see how productive he's going to be coming off of an Achilles injury. Again, on paper, it looks great. In action, it's, there's something left there to be desired. Let's see if they can all put it together. But I think at the end of the
Cardinal
day,
defense
it's
is
on
nothing
Matt
to
Stafford.
joke about. That Cardinal defense is solid.
Yes, sir. It is. It is. So, again, interesting matchups across the board. I do think that we can all agree Dallas versus San Francisco of the weekend is a game of the weekend. And then, as Coach alluded to earlier, LA, Arizona, pick 'em. It can go either way. And let's see where it goes from there. All right, we're going to jump back into it in a second here. And we're back with two coaches, one Grizz. We're going to spend some time here talking about Black Monday and the coaching firing and the coaching carousel that's going to come. And we got the gripe and Grizz here, but this is going to be Frank's fussing, okay? Because I'm a Giants fan. I'm a huge Giants fan. I grew up as, a everything New York fan, okay? And the Giants finished 4-13 this year, okay? Joe Judge, second season, okay? You think that when you bring in a new head coach, when you have a franchise that's floundering, you're supposed to improve from your first season. And they regressed, okay? They won 2 fewer games to a point where this team just gave up on the dude, okay? They ran quarterback sneaks. Yes.
Injuries. People got hurt.
That's fine.
You have to take all those things into consideration.
Get out of here, okay? When this dude's there, making fun of other teams, then getting blown out by that team, okay, who's in your division, okay? You're saying that we're successful when clearly they couldn't piss a drop on offense.
Coach, I'm sorry.
down the
The other
stretch.
day he said guys were calling him to come back. Are you saying guys weren't calling him to come back?
I know that this is a family-friendly show, but are you shitting me? Okay? The guy should have been kicked out of the locker room as soon as the season ended. And then he was one of the last ones to be fired in this Black Monday situation. They actually waited a day, and they asked him, hey, what GMs could you potentially work for? Like, what is going on here? This is supposed to be a proud franchise who has a storied history, okay? You have some well-respected owners and a well-respected ownership group, and now it's just flushed down into it. This is the worst 10-year run of a lot of... I mean, I know that there's some crappy teams in this league, but it's embarrassing at this point. Now, they do Gettleman a solid who was garbage as the GM. Also, they let him go out on his own terms and retire. But that dude was, for our Hispanic crew here, he was mierda there for the past few years as the GM.
Another one there, buddy.
Sorry.
Okay, but this is the situation, though. You have to also understand that, yes.
He takes his glasses off.
I'm not saying he wasn't deserving of getting fired. I'm not arguing that. What I am going to argue, though, is who are the guys that got drafted? Who are the guys that they gave him to build this franchise with? Okay? They drafted a good running back, but that's too early. Running backs nowadays, you can't be taking them in the top 5. There's running backs galore. The running back is not the key position in the NFL that it was 20 years ago. It really is not. When you look at it, and you take a look at it and you compare Zeke, right? How many millions of dollars did they give Zeke 2 years ago? He hasn't lived up to that contract. Nowhere near. The backup running back is just as good as he is, if not sometimes better. So again, to me, it goes down with the GM. It goes down with the pieces that they got. They picked up Daniel Jones. Again,
I think he was drafted 6th overall.
One year guy at North Carolina. Now, you tell me that you take the quarterback today from North Carolina, I'll tell you, okay, that's a top 10 pick. That's a top 15 pick. That kid has won. That kid's mobile. He's been in the game for 4 years now. He's shown you stuff.
Coach.
It's the same. They did the same Trubisky. They did Mitchell Trubisky 2.0.
Coach, you got to, but let's take the hometown team here, the Dolphins, and look at them for a second, right? They fired Brian Flores after a 10-win season last year and a 9-win season this year, okay? He was the epitome of making chicken salad out of chicken shit, okay? He had probably the worst roster in the NFL when he took over in 2019, okay? Ended up taking them to a 6 or 7 win season, Grizz, okay? Did outperformed what he had on the roster in his first year. Then the next year came back, won 10 games, missed the playoffs by 1 game, which was not necessarily all their fault.
Every year,
he maximized the talent that they had, which is still in certain cases
you also have to take
limited.
a look at the schedule that they played. Who did they play? Who did they beat?
The NFC East is not necessarily a world-beating
I understand
division,
that.
sir.
I understand. But again, we go back to how many times were the Dolphins 3-6? This year they were what, 1-7 at one point?
They came back and they won 7 straight.
Okay, against nobodies.
My point is those guys. My point is those guys never gave up on the season. They never gave up on their coach. And
they still had their starting quarterback. They didn't lose their starting quarterback. Those guys lost their starting quarterback. Don't forget, Saquon Barkley missed half the season again this year. They missed every receiver. Every receiver was out.
Again, I'm okay. I'm talking about the complexion of the team and how they played. And even though you may not have your full roster, you can tell whether a team is playing hard or not. Also, the decisions that you're making, whether you're going to get fired or not, you should be coaching and trying to put your team in the best position to win. And what the best thing that they come up with is old school wing tee quarterback dive while they're backed up. I mean, twice, by the way. Instead of, all right, let's put ourselves in a better position.
They don't want the guy to throw the ball. Have you seen the guy throw the ball? Have you seen that guy? It's your favorite team. Have you seen that guy throw the ball?
Mike Glennon is not great.
Exactly.
I understand
So
that.
then, again, they're in their own 10-yard line, but you want him to throw the ball.
We're talking
so
about,
then when he throws a
backup
P6,
quarterbacks, which there's maybe 2 or 3 that are
when you
worth
throw
a
the
damn.
when you throw the pick 6, then you're mad and go, why would you throw in that situation? What are you doing? What's wrong with you? That's the problem.
You're screaming at me.
But that's the problem.
And I'm letting out some frustration.
And
here.
I get it.
4-13.
But you have to take a look at that roster has been beaten to death.
And
everybody they signed. They signed guys. They signed guys. They signed free agents.
Everybody's been hurt.
They signed free agents. They were hurt. And their tight end hasn't played a full season. Their O-line got decimated.
Again. But the O-line wasn't anything to talk about either because Gettleman screwed that one up.
I get it. But when your first team guys that you're counting on are out, you're really up the creek and without a paddle. You're hurting.
So you're defending Joe Judge?
I'm not defending him. I'm not saying that he's a great coach. Because, again, I would not have hired Jason Garrett to be my offensive coordinator.
Yep.
You're better off going to the college ranks and finding one of the young OCs, boom, and giving them a shot. You're better off that way.
Yep.
Than these retreads, like we talked about Chan Galen. You got to stop retreading these guys that have been in the game for 25 years. You want to bring him as a quarterback coach? Great. He can coach your quarterback. He was a former quarterback. Fantastic. Don't give him the keys to the car. Now, those moves like that, to me, are stupid. The argument, the fight he had with the O-line coach and the O-line coach with him, yes, there was internal strife. Those are the things that get you fired. The other day, the back and forth he had with the press. He learned nothing from Belichick. Belichick gives you one-word answers.
He's the exact opposite of what a coach coming from that tree does. He did not do himself any favors with the team, the organization, the front office, or the fans or the media, especially when New York is one of the toughest medias to coach within. They're going to eat you alive when you give them that type of material to run with.
I believe that's what got him fired. Those kind of outbursts he had with the media.
And that's what I'm saying, Grizz. No one's discrediting the lack of talent or the injuries, but there's a certain demeanor that you have to have, especially in the New York market, to be able to coach. You can... And it shows on the field. Yeah, the team may not be good, but you can see effort. You can see, the attempts to be productive, and they did not have that.
That's why I don't
down
think,
the stretch of the season.
I don't think that team gave up on say the coach itself. Same way I don't think they when you bring up Flores and the Dolphins and that the team didn't give up on him, I don't think they played harder for him either. I think these are all men that, like any other job, you come in, you got pride, and you want to play it out. Plus, who knows, you got incentives for some of these players that they got to play out. And I just think that Judge Yeah, he probably wasn't meant. You know, they fired him right on time. Next year, he probably still doesn't get the situation cleaned up. I come into the Flores situation thinking I'm going to give you the Grizz's gripe, but I'm actually on the fence now thinking, you know, I've been hearing whispers that, you know, he just didn't get along with ownership and others in charge of your team, and you kind of got to get along with people who are your boss. And if you're rubbing people the wrong way, plus he's making bad decisions, I think also that I was alerted to. You know, some of his player personnel moves, I wasn't hot with it. And you know what? I think he's better off for another team. Now he's learned his mistakes. And who knows, he might be coming to your neck of the woods since he's a New York guy. And maybe this is the type of guy New York wants.
Well, let's see, because it was just reported that he's gonna interview with the Bears.
Oh, he's gonna interview with everybody. He's actually, of all the guys that have been fired, he's your hottest choice, I believe.
And he fits the Rooney Rule perfectly.
Exactly.
So he is magically
you got to give
a good hire.
You got to give the guy credit though,
interview.
because in a sense he was kind of trying to pull the Belichickian mold situation there. It's my way or the highway. Like, if they're not getting the job done, I got to make
Here's the problem
moves.
with the Belichick mold. Belichick, remember, was coaching the Cleveland Browns, and that didn't go well from his first couple of years. You don't get to become the Belichick day one. It's, you know, he has to go through his learning curve. So you can't come in being the boss, telling people what to do, in that, yeah, I want all this control. If you're brand new into this game, man, you know, he's got to earn his stripes. And like I said, I think now going to another team, you'll see that. He is going to have to learn that I maybe made mistakes. Because if you can't, like, internally see that you had an issue in getting fired.
Until you become Bill Belichick, you can't be Bill Belichick.
Yeah, they had a 7-game winning streak. That's awesome. They also had a 7-game losing streak, which is not awesome. And they lost to the Jacksonville Jags, who that was the only win the Jags had other than the other 2 wins they had this year that were 15.5 dogs that I was incredibly off on last week. Thank you, Colts. You know, so you have that kind of loss in your resume. That's terrible. Terrible. And that game alone is worthy of being fired.
Listen, I'm not discrediting anything that you're saying there, but Coach, and you would agree with this, wouldn't you be a little miffed, to say the least, if your GM is not putting you in the best position to succeed with the groceries that you have to cook, so to speak, there? Because, you know, yes, there was a rift between GM and coach there, but it's understandable. Now, there's conflicting reports of who wanted Tua, because there is a report saying that Brian Flores actually wanted Herbert, and they went with Tua instead. There's others that say that Flores was the one that vouched for Tua. Whatever the case may be, it is understandable that there's a disagreement between the GM and the coach there, whether he's a seasoned head coach or not.
But now, regardless of the matter, you have what you have, right? So you have to tailor what you do to the players that you have. That's your job. And that's how you win and lose in the NFL, in college, and in high school. Okay?
Even a guy like Belichick, who's been in this league all these years, as great as he is, he kind of had to tailor a little bit of the offense towards
McDaniel has done a phenomenal job.
Because I'm saying, like, he lets his OC, and we didn't. What was the problem with Flores? He just had, like, you know.
Well, yeah, he's had a revolving door for 3 guys.
Yeah,
he brought in Chan Gailey,
terrible,
you know, for a year. The 2 guys this year, and again, we spoke last week about what they needed to do to stop being mediocre, and we talked about being more RPO oriented, more play action, more. This week, the kid looked good. He looked bad on one throw that he threw it deep, almost got picked, because that's not his strength. Now, you can pop the lid off once in a while, but you got to teach him that when there's 2 guys covering that guy that's popping the lid, don't throw it. But they were very successful running the ball, RPO, quick throws, the slants. He threw 3 or 4 slants that were amazing. Yeah. He's got great timing.
He's a great slant thrower. So that's for damn sure.
As I said,
but and I think what I'm saying here is you have a guy, a young quarterback that if he didn't want him, if he didn't want to pick him, but like I said, if the GM wants him, and especially if the owner, remember the buck stops with the owner, man. I mean, we don't have Jerry Jones, obviously, but the guy's still the owner. And if that's who he wants, okay, so now what we have to do, like you said, Gil, we have to adapt to this guy. This is our guy. So we have to put the pieces around this guy to make him a winner.
So are you guys saying that he didn't maximize what he had? Because I mean,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think that if we would have ran the offense that we ran Sunday, if we would have ran that offense all year, we're talking a different tune. He's going to the playoffs.
Yep.
He
wins one of those games against the Jags.
beats
Falcons,
10. He wins
Colts,
10 or 11
wins,
games.
Exactly.
If he runs that type of offense. However, if you go back and you break down all of their games, they do not run that. That's not what they do. And again, you and I were talking off air a few minutes ago about what my plans are on running the offense. Okay? I know my limitations. What we got and what we don't. So you have to adjust. And we said it last week or the week before. The NFL is a game of adjustments. If going in, you look at your roster, you take a look at your guys, and you hire 2 OCs, well, those guys better run what we can do.
Well, and again, maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses.
And the game has changed a lot because we're getting a lot more mobile quarterbacks. We're getting guys that are not under center guys and guys that are living on RPOs because that's what they live on.
Yeah, a simplified game, which now you have to do more development at the pro level. All right. Granted, fair points on all accounts here.
Now let's also. I'm sorry. I want to touch one more thing. I think all those 3 guys got hired 3 years ago. Did they not?
Judge, I think.
Judge was last year.
Judge only been 2 years.
This is 2 seasons.
Because Fangio has been there.
This was his third year. Flores third year.
Matt Nagy.
He's been around
fourth or fifth year.
Fifth, I think, and Zimmer.
No, Zimmer's been there for a long time.
He had 2 or 3 years with what's his face, the backup quarterback for the Bills now, that they picked top 5.
Now I'm going to tell you what, and I'm going to say right now, whoever picks up Zimmerman as a DC, he's a solid defensive coordinator.
And that's what I was going to lead into with these other firings, right? We have the Chicago Bears who let go of Matt Nagy, which was expected. They also let go of Ryan Pace. They also let go of Ryan Pace, who was their GM. Okay, then you have Minnesota, right, who let go of Zimmerman.
And Spielman, their GM as well.
And Spielman, they let go of the GM as well. And then, again, another interesting team is the Las Vegas Raiders, who had Bisaccia, who was the interim coach after John Gruden resigned after the scandal there earlier in the season.
I'm glad you touched on that. Can I tell you something? I heard something today about him, how maybe people are enamored with what he's done and are on a false idea of being the head football coach.
Do you understand that it's the first time, I think, in like 50, 60 years that a coach mid-season was able to make the playoffs?
Well, but
that's a big thing.
And I'm going to say something in his defense. The guy has a tremendous track record. He started in college football in 1983.
Wow.
He's worked his way up. He was a coach with Tampa Bay in 2002. Okay. He was with them when they won the Super Bowl, when they beat the Raiders.
Okay.
He coached with the Chargers.
All right.
He went back to college in 2013 with Auburn. He coached with the Dallas Cowboys. His stint with Auburn was short because he went within 2 months to the Dallas Cowboys. Special teams coordinator, and now with the Raiders since 2018. With that being said, how do we compare his resume to John Harbaugh's? What made John Harbaugh more prepared or a better candidate to be a head football coach than this gentleman? Mm-hmm. Not that he's my doppelganger and I would defend him. Not that I'm defending him, but I'm just
coach with a 10.
I don't know the guy's name, but I call him Coach Gill all the time.
It's Bisaccia.
Coach Gill.
So you know what I'm saying, and that was my contention this morning because I heard it this morning on one of the talk shows I listened to, and they were talking about that giving him the job would be premature. That we're enamored with his job and okay, granted, I listened to that. I said, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe he's not.
He deserves a
but
shot,
then when I look at this and I look at his resume and I go, John Harbaugh came from being a special teams coordinator. Mm-hmm. Came from didn't run offense, didn't run defense, and I think John's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean,
I could be wrong.
So at this level and at all levels, right? When you're a head coach, you're a manager of men, right? You're a manager of personalities. You're trying to build cohesion. You have to manage all aspects of the game and of the team and of the organization. so in a sense, when you're a special teams coordinator, you have to be aware of all game situations.
Well, I also think
so. It's not a terrible position to come from to become
also
a head coach.
think
Now, that's aside from Joe
that
Judge
you work-
because he was also a
that
special
you
teams
work with
coordinator, but
everybody.
we're not going to talk about that.
You also work with everyone.
Correct.
You work with all different positions, receivers, DBs.
The guy's had
O-line, D-line.
40 years worth of football experience coaching the ball.
So-
I mean, I think talk about what I just said earlier, that it's a coaching change. And when you have a coaching change, these teams don't
do well.
They don't go
No,
to.
they don't do well.
Yeah.
They win one or two games and then they tank
And
after.
once again,
they go down after that.
the upheaval of having your coach gone, that it's not that they don't give up. It's just that, we have a lot of factors. This guy led them to the playoffs. 4-game winning streak. They had so much against them, and they were able. That to me is a sign of that's what I would say. That's my resume because he has to be interviewed formally.
He held the
I
ship
was just gonna
together.
be like, you want to see what I did last whatever game?
To be honest with you, I don't think he has an interview. I think they could just remove the interim tag
Of course.
because since he has the interim, he just.
So are you?
So-
So, are
that's
you?
it.
I
They
would
should
like
do
him.
it. They should do it without
I
having an
personally,
interview.
after looking at his resume and going through all those, and like I said, my mindset going into this was he was a special teams guy. John Harbaugh was a special teams guy when
Right.
he got the job. So I wanted to see a little bit more information on him and see his resume.
Yeah, I mean, and
And I think he's worthy of an NFL especially the Raiders.
Yeah.
I think that he has worked his way to be the head football coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
and I would
He
and I
looks the
would
part.
and I would tend to agree with you because it says a lot, especially at this level when you're talking about adults who are making millions of dollars, definitely making more than you. You're able to hold this together, right? Because it could have easily just fell apart.
Listen, as soon as you had the accident with the death, and then
With
2
Ruggs,
weeks ago, the DUI, and it would have. It's over. It's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Can I also say
And Waller being hurt. I mean, there's so many different factors that could have turned this season into a dumpster fire.
And can I also say in this, because I know that there is a faction of fans, if you will, and people who cover the sport that don't think as highly of Carr as others do, and the jury's still out, whatever the case may be. Like, can we talk about his leadership ability of this team right now to help this situation and get them to where he is? Like, the dude's a phenomenal leader. Whatever you think about him as a quarterback, like, he is a solid quarterback, but sometimes what you need at that position is, yes, solid quarterback, solid skills on the field, but he is a leader, man. That dude's a leader.
He's a solid guy.
He's been able to hold it together.
I think he's amazing at being a leader. All that's great. I have someone that thinks of him as like a top 10 elite quarterback. I've never thought that of him. I think comfortably I could put him in maybe 15 to the 13 range. Because once again, to be elite and the leadership, he gives you all that leadership, but if he was that great, we would have been in the playoffs by now. We would have won a game or two.
Well, he was having an MVP season a couple years ago,
I know
and
he
then
got
got
hurt.
When he broke his arm.
I totally
When he
get
broke
it.
his arm.
or his
But-
ankle.
So
His ankle.
But
was-
that's
Was
the
it-
way
it
it
could be his
goes.
ankle.
That's
Yeah.
the way it goes.
Was his ankle.
Wentz had a great season. He was going to be an MVP. He got hurt.
They were-
and he's gone to crap.
They were 12-4, I believe. He broke his ankle right at the end of the season.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
But but if you
through
look at him
his entire
statistically,
career-
though,
Yeah.
he is a top-notch statistical quarterback.
I know, but he
quarterback.
just doesn't win those games that mean.
100%. No,
that he
and
goes
I
up.
get what you're
But
saying, and
yet
that's why I
still
mentioned
like
it.
him. I'm not.
Right.
I don't want to come off being the douchebag
No.
guy saying that. I think
What I'm
he's
saying
bad.
is,
It's just-
but what I
I don't
was
want
gonna
to
say,
think he's top 10.
what I wanted to say is, though,
He's
that
better than Lamar
He's
Jackson,
working
but I
his
think-
way there, though.
You shut your mouth.
I'm gonna tell you right now,
think he's better than
he's
Lamar.
working his way up there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, but and you know what? Maybe he has that late spurt.
If he has a run this season,
I
it
to-
puts him up in the top
And
10.
that's what I think. He's gonna definitely. I think he definitely beats the Bengals, right? So, and the matchup would be then probably you play Tennessee if the Bills win. I think he could go into Tennessee and win that game. I'm not saying he doesn't have the ability. I'm saying if we want to start talking about
You're saying he needs a
matching up-
signature.
if
he
we want to
needs a
start
signature
matching
season.
up those stats you're talking about, we just need that.
You need-
because if the guy goes his entire career without a playoff win, you're gone. You're forgotten.
No,
I need at least a little bit of a run.
You need a signature season to solidify you as a top 10
He's
guy.
literally, to me, Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
2 years ago going to Tennessee, nothing, right?
Right.
Now he has that run, and yeah, it was Derrick Henry that helped out, but it doesn't matter. What's perception?
Right.
He's the leader.
Right.
He's the guy running, and now we've been giving praise for the last couple of years about Tannehill. I believe he's even better than Tannehill. I need that. Just give me a win. You give me a win this weekend.
Get some wind under your sails.
And then, you play an even better team. I wouldn't like the matchup if it happens to be against the Chiefs. I think that's a bad matchup for him, and that will come to an end if he ends up playing against the Chiefs.
It's a divisional game, so yeah, all those divisional games are always tough matchups.
I think he has the opportunity to become that type of guy.
No, it's definitely interesting.
But regardless, we're past that. Let's. I think we got to finish up touching base on these firings.
Yeah,
the Nagy and the Zimmer situation.
And that's what I was going to bring up. Those two, I think, of the vacancies, those two teams are the more interesting ones for the next cycle of hirings. Minnesota has a solid team. Yeah. They have a solid defense. They have great young pieces on offense.
They're definitely an underperforming team.
They're 100%. They made it to the playoffs 3 times under Zimmer, but it was always...
They can't win in primetime.
Nope. Kirk Cousins, for some reason, just doesn't know how to... the bright lights scare him.
Now, Coach Grizz, of those two teams, right, the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings, which one do you think is the best position or the best situation for the new head coach coming in?
I like the Bears more because I like the quarterback situation. I like the kid. I think he's going to be good if given the right time and if he stays on the field. We're going to get what we're going to get with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, to me, is the greatest amazing magician ever because he was able to get all this money from all these teams over the last some odd years. He is just amazing. That guy banked out smart.
You're the stats and numbers guy, okay? If you look at his numbers, if you're just looking at it on paper,
correct.
It is Aaron Rodgers-esque.
Yes.
His numbers and his stats.
He's disgusting.
They're Aaron Rodgers-esque.
This year, right?
No.
His
Career-wise.
He is disgusting.
Don't you ever say that to me. I don't want to ever hear you say Aaron Rodgers.
Look it up, Grizz.
I don't care.
He's an amazing fantasy quarterback. The only thing is, you got to bench him in prime time games.
Don't say Aaron Rodgers to me. Don't say that stuff.
If I gave you two stat
we're gonna be one coach, one Grizz if that happens. I don't care.
If I gave you two stat sheets and I just gave you the stats, I didn't attach name.
I know in a vacuum. That's what that means, right?
Okay, you wouldn't know. And I said, "Who's Aaron Rodgers?" You wouldn't know.
Well, the guy with the better stats would be Aaron Rodgers because I don't care how esque he is. It's not better than Aaron Rodgers because that would mean winning games.
Look it up.
Yeah, give me a second.
We won't give you wins and losses. We're only going to give you numbers.
ASR Producers is on it.
You're going to give me what? Just straight yards and touchdowns and interceptions?
That's it. That's all you're going to get.
And they're exactly the same, huh?
That's all you're going to get. It's ridiculous. Listen, it is ridiculous, sir. It's ridiculous. For one, I'm like...
How do we not attach wins to that, though? No, I don't need it for the vacuum thing. I'm just talking about in real life.
Oh no!
But that's a winner.
But that's what we're talking about.
That's where we make the distinction. That's where we make the distinction. Statistically, you look at him on paper, it's incredible.
And he doesn't make that throw, that fucking throw.
But that's where you made a good point now with the Chicago job. They have a nice little running back.
They do.
Their offensive line looks solid. They've got some receivers. Their defense can be good. Their defense can be good because it's young, and to me that is a good situation. With Minnesota, you've got Cousins for one more year. Then you got to figure out that quarterback situation. I don't know how many years Dalvin Cook's got left. You got good receivers on offense, and you got a solid defense in Minnesota. You have a real solid defense in Minnesota.
Yeah, listen again. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna touch up on this in the next episode because we're gonna come back to that one, and we are gonna deep dive into that a little bit. Grizz, to your point with the Bears, I would agree with you as well that I would rather take the Bears job. There are grumblings of Mr. Jimmy Harbaugh, waiting in the wings there. There have been reports saying that he has been telling recruits that he may jump to the NFL because, let's put it this way, if that wasn't the case and he was staying at Michigan, he would have shot down all this speculation right away.
Supposedly our boy Ross likes him. The Dolphins guy.
Now, Ross did say he wouldn't be the one to pull him away from Michigan, but that also means he's not going, that also doesn't mean he's not going to accept if Harbaugh leaves on his own under his own volition.
Well, he's not going to leave under his own volition. He's going to leave because he's got a job. Who leaves a $1 million job? Oh, I'm leaving. I'm walking away, guys. Take it easy. Hey, deuces.
I think if Harbaugh's going to do it, it needs to be right now. He left Michigan in a good place. He made it to the college football playoff. All right. He beat Ohio State, got the monkey off his back there. His stock is as high as it's ever going to be because if you look at the difference in rosters, Ohio State is not going anywhere. They reload. They're coming back for it. And you know that they're going to be motivated next year. So if it's time, or if he's going to do it, it needs to be right now. Okay? This is the time to do it. He got, like I said, he got the monkey off of his back because you can tell the difference. I mean, you could see the difference with your own two eyes on TV or if you were at the game between Georgia and Michigan. Okay? They said it best. The butt to thigh ratio between those two teams is, it's like looking at a high school team versus looking at an NFL team.
But again, now, with that being said, I do think that Michigan, now, winning that game might open up some doors of recruiting to be able to get that higher quality recruit. I think it changes a little bit.
I agree with you, Coach.
And he is a great recruiter now because if you take a look at his classes are top 10 every year.
But is he going to be able to consistently get over the hump against the Ohio States all the time now? That's what I'm saying. If he's going to do it, if he wants to go back to the NFL, it's got to be right now.
Right, no, it's time to go to the NFLs now. He's a hot commodity. He has NFL experience. Now is the time to make that move.
Now, if I'm him, I take the Michigan job. Or I'm sorry, the Chicago job, the Bears job, because was a Bears quarterback. It's still Midwest. That's what his, blood, his roots are. Okay, he's got a young quarterback that he can mold around. The last time that he had a mobile quarterback like that, right, with that type of skill set, he made it to the Super Bowl. Okay. We're not going to get into that conversation because Coach gets a little hot and bothered.
No, we're not.
But I think that's the best situation for him. And then now, having the experience that he had with San Francisco, okay, he comes in, has a little bit more experience under his belt. He's a little bit more seasoned. Maybe he asks for a little bit more control in buying the groceries so he can cook the dinner. All right, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Where do we think Flores lands? Because he's going to be a prime.
I already told you.
I think Grizz has a point with New York. I think the Giants are a good fit for him. Because again, they're a few pieces away. Their defense isn't that bad. Their defense plays pretty good. So again, doesn't have to have a whole lot of work to be done.
They got to fix some cap numbers there because there's a lot of dudes making a lot of money there that haven't really panned out as well. They got to draft well and hit on those draft picks. They have a couple extra first-round draft picks.
That's every NFL team.
They have a couple extra first-round draft picks that may help them, but I think it starts up front with the offensive line because they couldn't piss a drop there. And, all of the teams in that division, they're ascending.
Can I tell you, I've noticed that the key to the offensive line is your backups.
Right. I would agree.
Because you're always going to lose one or two guys during the season.
And it's a numbers game, Coach, because you know what it is? Like, you have 5 starters as it is. Most teams carry 8 tops total offensive linemen. So the key is to stay healthy, obviously, okay, and then have those swing guys who can play right and left tackle, who can play right and left guard, okay? Because some teams only carry 7 offensive linemen during the season.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, which is crazy to me, but that's a topic for another day. So, gentlemen, any closing thoughts? Grizz, you're shaking your head there.
No, I just don't ever want to hear you say, like I said again, Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers.
We are devoting segment to that.
No, we're not devoting. We're going to not waste the time in the future for that. I'm going to stop it right now.
It's happening.
For the fact that this year, you could do the vacuum thing. I already read a couple articles from a couple months ago that they're having the same exact year. Fine. But let's see. Career-wise, I said, career-wise,
this is an impromptu graduate.
Entitles the career.
He's
91 interceptions has been thrown by Kirk Cousins. 91. Not bad. Let me see how many touchdowns. 223. Not bad. Good ratio. Great. 93 interceptions thrown by Aaron Rodgers in his career. 449 touchdowns. A little better ratio. With about probably another decade of experience ahead of him. Listen, bro. He's having a great year. Just don't ever in your lifetime tell me that again.
We're doing it next week.
Deal it with any week you want. I'm going to bring it to you hard every week, bro.
Whoa.
Just like she said.
Wow.
Pause.
Can you guys take that off?
Pause.
Off air.
And with that, we're going to end it right there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back in a couple minutes looking at some college basketball, right? We just got a big old upset. Baylor going down to Texas Tech as we were talking in this segment. So that's a big loss. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. And we're going to bring up some MMA. We got a big fight this weekend.
No, next weekend.
Next weekend. I apologize.
There's some good fights this weekend, but not a big one.
Big fight in the next couple weekends that Coach Gill wants to break down. So we'll be right back with that action. We're back to wrap this episode up with some college basketball action and a little bit of MMA talk. As alluded to at the end of last segment, we just watched Baylor go down, the number one team in the country, to number 19, Texas Tech. Okay. I would say a little bit of a surprise. Baylor was on a 15-game winning streak there. They looked unstoppable here at the beginning of the season. Texas Tech takes them down. There was a 2-point victory by them. Coach, what do you think of that?
In conference play, nothing is guaranteed. Just a little while ago, USC was number 5 in the country, the highest they've been in the program for I don't know how many years. How long. And Stanford beat them by 4 at Stanford. Again, anytime we get into conference play, you start seeing these teams get up for each other. They play well against each other. Texas Tech has matched up well against Baylor for the last few years. They're both very good defensive-minded teams. So Texas Tech beating them is not surprising at all. Baylor's still going to be at the end of the day. I think Baylor is going to be there in the Final Four.
And it just goes to talk because you've mentioned this a couple times in the past few episodes that this year, yes, Baylor obviously cream of the crop. They look like they've come back stronger, but there's a lot more parity, right, between the teams that we've seen in the top 25. Okay. Also, big hometown win by UM against the Blue Devils.
In the Cameron with the Crazies. What a huge game. What an upset. That was a phenomenal win for Coach Larrañaga and the UM Hurricane basketball team. I said it jokingly the other day. Maybe he listened to the pod a few weeks ago when Manny got fired. We said, man, get ready because, if you don't light a fire under those boys, you're going to be next. He's got them playing really, really well. They're undefeated at this time. Right now, tonight, they're playing Florida State. They're up by 2 right now with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. Again, and I've said this over and over the last couple of weeks, the ACC is just not a strong conference this year as it has been in the past.
Right.
Duke is currently the only ranked team.
Right. In the past, we used to have North Carolina, Duke, Louisville. There was always 3, 4 teams, 5 teams that could, Wake Forest would be in there. All kinds of different situations.
Definitely 5 to 6 teams would be ranked by now.
Correct.
And it was funny. One of our boys on our personal poker chat, shout out Alan Pernis, brought up a point that I think was worth noting that the AP is throwing Coach K a bone here for his swan song and was ranking them 2.
Well, the thing is, too, the thing was that Duke played in a couple of early tournaments that big boys played in.
Right.
They won. They made some nice signature wins early, so they were up there. I mean, again, when was the last time you heard Virginia was 9-6?
Yeah, they've been really good for like the last decade.
They're a staunch ACC team, leads the ACC.
Carolina's not playing up to their part.
It's something that we have not seen.
But once again, you're saying that, and that's great. The ACC is down, but I think Miami should. They're 13-3, 5-0, like you said, undefeated, leading the ACC. Should get them, sneak them in at 25, put them in there at least. Their record's comparable. Their schedule has not been up to par. Obviously, the metrics will say they're low, which I think you had told me that off air, and I get that. But just put them in. They're probably not going to make it. If they end up losing the game against FSU, it's going to take them a while to even scratch that back. But I think they deserve it. You go into play Duke. I don't care who's giving you a bone. It's Duke.
I'm going to tell you right
crazies.
now. 5-0 I'm going to tell you something right now.
They don't lose at home.
If they beat Florida State today and they're able to win this weekend,
I think
they'll be in the top 25.
Yeah,
there's no doubt because now you got some signature wins.
You got signature wins,
Okay.
plus where it says others who got votes, they were first. So they were basically the 26 team.
No.
So they probably would be even a top 20 team.
And we were talking earlier about Cincinnati and them, football-wise,
Right.
being part of the upper echelon.
Right. Being part of the mix.
What happens is, remember, a lot of these teams, we're going off of last season's records, the season before. These are all resumes that are built over the last 2 or 3 years. So again, Miami being undefeated this year against the teams that they've played, they're not going to get put up in the top 25.
It's a perception game.
And it's where you start as well.
Right.
If you start 74th,
they started very low on people's minds. Of course,
Correct.
they were probably picked to finish like 10th or worse in the conference.
Speaking of which, Miami received 65 votes in the AP top 25 and 75 votes in the coaches.
Yep.
So
Coach, let me ask
They're
you.
right there.
Let me ask this question. And you alluded to it right now, just a second ago, with the Cincinnati comment. Does the transfer portal work? Do you think that it has the same impact on college basketball that it would have on college football?
yes and no, because again, remember, basketball is more of a set game. We have to know each other. When I'm the point guard, I got to be able to make that no-look pass, and you're going to be there. So basketball is more cohesive, okay? So it takes longer for them to play with each other. Now, a perfect example of that transfer portal right there is Texas Tech. Texas Tech has a bunch of kids in the transfer portal. So what happens is as the season goes on, they start gelling. And they'll be a team to contend with the second half of the season.
So like a Coach Calipari type thing where he gets these young teams coming in. They don't look great at the beginning, and they've gelled towards the end of the season, and they peak right when they need to.
I think personally the difference would be your super top talent won't be affected because these are one-and-done kids still. They come in for 1 year, they play, they can go to the league.
But what's happening is, I'm going to tell you what's going on. What's happening is a lot of these small mid-majors, they got some really
some
good
dudes.
No, now they're getting
and
the
those
dudes that
guys
stick around.
No, but those guys are transferring into the bigger programs.
Right.
Okay. You've also got some 4- and 5-star guys that may not be starting at Texas or at Ohio State, and they'll go in and it's the same thing.
I think so.
It's the same situation than in football. But again, in football, you have more time to practice. You learn the route. The quarterback just has to get a timing on the speed.
Right.
You get me? Now, with a curl route, okay, the guy's going to be at 12 yards. I throw it there, he's there. In basketball, it's not like that.
Yeah, it's less time to refine
In
the
basketball,
product.
I have to get the pick and roll going. I have to get the zone, the defense, it's rotations, things like that.
The impact is a lot more concentrated because there's less dudes on the court, right? So
Correct.
so,
Correct.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just I wanted to get your perspective on that because it's not just for football. It's going to be across
All sports.
Right.
I mean, I can't wait to see baseball. Baseball's another.
Baseball is an interesting one because a lot of these guys have been drafted before and chosen to come back to continue play to try to better their draft stock. So that's you just said it. That's going to be an interesting dynamic to look
Pitchers. I can't wait to see the pitchers. I cannot wait to see what pitchers end up where.
Do you think it's going to be a situation where you're going to see some of these teams load up in the bullpen to become it's going to be a big separation there?
Again, if you're able to add some arms that can give you innings, the season is always a long season.
Right.
So you can carry a few more guys. And they're top level guys. You're not picking up scrubs off the corner. Hey, come here.
No, for sure.
You're not bringing in Big Ben at 35 with a noodle on.
100%.
So again, that again is going to change the dynamics of some of these programs
For sure.
and we'll see.
And
to be honest with you, like Wake Forest has been an incredible baseball team the last 4 or 5 years. So I can't wait to see what they do, and it's all been pitchers. We'll see how that works out.
And that's
for
the name
them.
of the game at that level for sure.
We'll see how that works out for them.
So let's bring it back to basketball real quick for a second. Looking back at our hometown team, they currently have a 1-point lead over Florida State with some terrible uniforms, by the way. Last minute going in, we're doing some live
commentary, little commentary.
Live commentary. We got 48 seconds left. FSU's got the ball. Miami's up 61-60. So this is interesting to see here. But what I was going to mention and ask you guys, when we get to March Madness time, do we see Miami sneaking in? Oh, 3-pointer. Oof. Florida State just drains a 3.
Again, looking at their resume, looking at their strength of schedule, which is getting better. If they're able to win some of these important games, they could have a shot because it's 64 teams.
You think it's going to be highly dependent on how they come out in the tournament, right? ACC tournament.
Definitely.
Like it's going to be.
I don't think they have to win the tournament.
But
No,
they got to get to semifinals.
Here's
maybe.
how it looks to me. You got to win at least. They're 13-3 now, right? Usually, when you have an above 500 conference record, that bodes well for you. When you win 20 or more games, that bodes well for you. So if they got that down, which, 7 games away from winning 20, obviously, depending how they win the games against who they play, do they get blown out? It's all factors. As of right now, they're looking pretty good.
The good thing for them now is all they've got left are conference games.
Right.
Okay. We do have 3 or 4 teams in the conference that are decent teams.
Yes.
Okay. That they're 64 worthy teams, tournament worthy teams. So looking at Ken Palm now, Ken Palm has them projected to win 20 games and lose 11. If they go 20-11 and have a decent showing in the ACC tournament, they're definitely in.
They're definitely in, right?
They're
Sure.
definitely in.
You'd want to win one game because if you lose the first game, you're probably going to lose against one of the bottom dwellers. So that's not going to look good. But like I said, if you play,
Get to the quarterfinals.
if you get a win in there and you have that kind of record, once again, you said the ACC's down. So it's not like they play in a gauntlet of a conference like the other ones that have 5 or 6 teams that are ranked. So they should be able to win some of these games to puff up that record. So, once again, it all depends. They're down 2 right now with 24 seconds. This is a big, rivalry game. You win this. Once you said they win the next game that they have this week, you have probably a top 20 team. It all depends.
Miami currently bringing the ball down. They're in the paint. Get a rebound.
Missed the shot.
Missed the shot. 9 seconds left. 3 points. Boom!
3-pointer.
64-63 with 7 seconds left.
And they were a 6.5 dog coming into this game. So whether you want it or not,
What's incredible is that this game is finishing almost just like the Duke game.
Yes.
They've got North Carolina on deck.
Yeah.
So again, that's another game at home. They'll be at home. And then right after that, they'll play Florida State the week after that.
Yep.
So again, it's these next 3 games are very, very big for them in their process.
Whether they're down or not, you beat North Carolina. That is
that's a name. That's a brand name.
That's a brand name because they'll probably finish at least winning record, and they'll probably be a tournament team. So these are huge games for the Canes right now.
Down or not, they're still 11-4. So it's not like they're chopped liver.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, UM right now, 7 seconds left in the game. FSU just called a timeout after a huge 3 by UM to put them up 64-63. Final set piece of the game right here.
While we wait for that, I want to bring up another team that I really like a lot, Auburn. Right now, Bruce Pearl has them as the number 4 team at 14-1. I'm telling you, man, they make it into that tournament with a great record.
I don't want to answer that myself.
I know. I'm
going to be quiet.
From a couple years ago. I hear
No, again this year. I want to be quiet. I'm going to be quiet because
I'm going to
I like them a lot.
I like them a lot too, and I'm saying, to me, very, very good chance of a Final Four appearance again this year.
From your mouth, sir, to God's ears.
Love me, Bruce Pearl, man. I'm telling you, bro, that's the guy I want coaching my team.
He's an all-time sweater too.
Oh, sweater.
That guy.
But he's a worker, man. And
he is a worker, man.
He coaches his kids.
He's a coach's coach for sure.
There's a handful of coaches that I really like, and I think they're top notch. Kelvin Sampson of Houston, I think is an amazing coach as well.
The game is coming down to this. He got fouled.
They fouled.
He got fouled with
0.8 seconds.
Little home cooking there. Little home cooking. I think you gotta let these people play unless it's super. Let me see how bad this was.
Wow.
It looks like it's gonna go to overtime, guys.
No,
we'll see what happens.
It's a 1-1 here, right?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna.
you gotta remember. That's a bad call. That's a bad call. I don't care what that is. That's a
guys.
Bad
He's
call.
in Florida State. They're gonna call.
No, of course that's home cooking all day.
Yeah,
man. I'm totally with you. I'm just saying that's a bad call.
Wow.
And yeah, it's college. This is pressure situation. We got to make 2 to win the game, so very easily can make 1 out.
We need him to miss the first one. If he misses the first one, we're good. Yeah. We're going to overtime.
64-63 right now. 0.8 seconds left.
Florida State, pretty much. If they make the 2 right here, game's over.
Florida State's at the line. All right, so we're gonna jump over to some MMA action here, Coach. You got some fights coming up here that you really want to cover. Obviously, a big one against some 2 absolute monsters.
Yes, that's gonna be January 22nd. That's Cyril Gane versus Francis Ngannou. That's for the heavyweight championship. I'm gonna get deeper into that next week. I do like Francis. I think Ngannou beats Gane. They used to be sparring partners, used to be together, fighting each other. So again, I think that Ngannou has more experience. He's a little bit older, but he does have more experience, longer reach. I think he'll be able to hit Cyril, and it's going to be a knockout fight. That fight's going to be over soon.
I mean, that's the preeminent definition of a slobber knocker. Those guys, they don't have a ground game. They're just going to square up on each other and try to blow each other's faces off.
I'll get deeper into that card next week when we have the pod. This weekend, there is a good fight with Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze. Chikadze is one of the more up-and-coming guys in the featherweight division. He's a great fighter, excellent guy. He's a heavy favorite. We also have Jennifer Maya against Caitlin Chukagian. Miss Chukagian is another good one. Yeah, you got to be ready for these names. These names are always fun.
Wowzers.
Yeah, that's also going to be a good fight. And there's a couple more fights this weekend that should be interesting.
Let me get your immediate thoughts here on the Masvidal Covington fight. What are your thoughts there? That looks like a rough one for Masvidal.
As much of a Masvidal fan as you want to be and things like that, he's been out of the ring for
a while.
He got in not too long ago and got knocked out by Usman. Covington's been in the fight game more often. Covington's going to be a heavy favorite.
Puncher's chance.
He's got a puncher's chance. That's what he has. He has a puncher's chance. He's going to have to catch him. I do think Covington is a more prepared fighter. He's more of a in his prime fighter.
Yeah, Masvidal, okay. He's up there.
Right. No, I mean, again, if Masvidal catches him, he could hurt Covington. Covington has been hit before.
Suspect chain.
He's been knocked out before. Not as much as Gage, but he's had his moment. So we'll see what happens with that fight.
So as the game, as the Miami Florida State game here draws to an end, we got 0.8 seconds. Shot goes up. Okay, and Florida State takes it 65-64 on a suspect foul call.
So don't worry, guys. They're not going to be ranked.
Ranking.
Yeah,
no ranking.
Forget about the rankings.
They'll be on the other votes, probably like 3rd or 4th in the line.
There you go. So, gentlemen, as always, thank you to those who have been following us, who have been supporting us. Share with all of your friends, all of your sports heads. Okay, we are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We're all over the place. 2 Coaches, 1 Grizz is our handle. Okay, we thank you for the support. Keep it going. Help us grow our followers. Gentlemen, you have any closing thoughts for tonight?
No, just that. Thank you. We appreciate everything. We want to hear your feedback. Please let us know what you want to hear. We did not get into the UM coaching staff this week because really there is no coaching staff yet. There's only a skeleton staff. There's like 3 or 4 guys. And we're waiting till Coach Cristobal gets everybody on board. So then we can go ahead and give you a little bit of a deep breakdown of who they are, where they came from, and what we can expect.
Definitely, Coach. Gentlemen?
And I also want to say please keep up the good work, guys, of following us and sending out, messages and letting everybody know what we're about. We're going to ramp it up. Football might be dying down, but we're going to ramp it up. You watch and see when March Madness comes. It's going to be a delight to hear this man to my right talk about what's going to happen there. I can't wait.
It's definitely going to be fun.
Football's almost over, and I'm going to be missing it, but we have amazing games this week, right, Chad? Can't wait to talk about next.
That and more. We got amazing topics coming up for you guys while the season dies down. Looking forward to it, gentlemen. Until next week, have a good one. This is 2 Coaches, 1 Grizz out.